Neural
Body, what is
control and coordination.
correct. So write down neural control and coordination. So I'm starting the presentation. Can you see my screen, children? You can see my screen now.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
You're not able to see.
Ma'am, now
Ma'am,
it's
now it's visible.
Uh-huh. Okay. So neural control and coordination. So in this chapter, we will be studying that how the nerves are controlling and coordinating the different functions of the body. So we have discussed in the beginning that our body functions and the different organs, they are controlled by the two different mechanisms. One is, we call it as a nervous control, and another one is the chemical control. So the nervous control, we find it is done by the help of the nerves which arise from the brain and the spinal cord. And the other one is the chemical control, which we have done the whole chapter, that is by the help of the hormones secreted by the different endocrine glands. So now, since you have done all the glands and the hormones which are secreted by them and how they perform the function, so you have understood that all the different functions are controlled by the hormones. Now another control is the nervous control. So you can write down the components of the nervous system. First of all, write down in your notebook components of the nervous system. So I want someone to tell me what are the components of the nervous system.
ma'am,
The
brain,
neurons.
Brain, okay. Second component.
spinal
Nerve.
cord,
Second component,
spinal cord,
spinal cord. Number three
and
component,
neurons.
neurons. No, just now Devansh said na.
Neural fibers. Nerve fibers.
Nerve fibers or nerves you write down. Okay. So the first component is the brain, second component the spinal cord, and the third component nerves. So Devanshi noted, yes
Yes,
or no
ma'am.
Devanshi? So keep noting the things whatever we are discussing here in the class. So nervous system, now whatever components you have written, try to understand it is made up of the nervous tissue. It is made up of
Nervous tissue.
nervous tissue. Okay, and this nervous tissue is made up of a special cell. What is that cell called? What is that cell called which makes up the nervous tissue?
Neuron.
Neurons.
Neuron or the nerve cell. Okay, so neuron or the nervous cell. Now we'll take up the next thing, that human nervous system components. Now nervous system is divided into the central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. So take down this thing, everyone. The central nervous system includes your brain and the spinal cord. Now how we have classified the different components into two. The central nervous system, we call it as CNS, and the next one is the peripheral nervous system. So central nervous system includes the brain and the spinal cord. CNS includes what? Brain What is CNS? Speak up quickly, children. What is CNS?
Central nervous system.
Central nervous
System. So, what are the components of the central nervous system?
brain and spinal cord.
Spinal cord. Brain and spinal cord. Okay. Now, the second one is the peripheral. Now, try to understand why we are calling it peripheral, because this system, it is spread up in the different parts of the body. Okay, so peripheral means all the parts. It is this peripheral word has come from periphery. तो central nervous system के peripheral parts से these all arise, and it consists of the nerves. Peripheral nervous system consists of the nerves. And what are the different nerves? The nerves are arising from the two parts of the central nervous system. So the nerves which arise from the brain, we call it as, anyone remembering? ब्रेन से अराइज होने वाले नर्व्स को क्या बोलते हैं?
Cranial nerves.
Cranial nerves. Very good. Okay, cranial nerves. And the nerves which arise from the spinal cord, what you call it? What you call it?
Spinal
Anyone?
nerves.
Spinal nerves. Okay. So spinal cord ones are known as the spinal nerves. Now, depending upon their function, they are further classified. That is, your peripheral nervous system is classified into somatic nervous system and autonomic or autonomous or visceral nervous system. So, visceral nervous system, you can understand that it goes to all the visceral organs. All internal organs are supplied with the nerves, and we call that nervous system as the autonomic nervous system. Now, you all know that all the internal organs, your alimentary canal, different parts, your heart, your lungs, liver, they are not working under our control. Do they work under our control? Yes or no?
No, ma'am.
हाँ, you know that heart will keep beating अपनी स्पीड में, वो अपना करता रहेगा. हम बोलेंगे हार्ट अभी रुक जाओ, अब चालू हो जाओ. It is not going on like that. Once you have taken the food and it has gone into the buccal cavity, and it has gone down into the esophagus and then to the stomach, then you have no control over it. You cannot stop its digestion, isn't it? So that is all going on automatically, and we call it as autonomic nervous system. So that has been divided into two: sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system. I hope you have taken down this flow chart, all of you all. Shall I take up the next slide? Now we'll take up each of this in detail. Sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system. Noted, all of you all?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, central nervous system, it is composed of the brain and the spinal cord and protected. Now, try to understand brain ka location kya hai and how it is protected. So, brain, you know, it is present in the bony brain box, which you call it as cranium, and the extension of this brain, the medulla oblongata extension, that is only running along the full axis of the body. Can you see the central part? And this is running again. So bony covering of the brain is the cranium, and the bony covering of the spinal cord is your vertebral column. So the spinal cord runs through the vertebral column. This way, the central nervous system is protected by the bony covering, and it is the main information processing center, remember, and it integrates the sensory information, processes the information, and then provides a response in the form of nerve impulses. So sensory, integrative, and motor functions all are carried out by the central nervous system. The message is received and the signal is given by the brain and the spinal cord what work has to be done. And that way it is integrated. Why we call it as integrative? क्योंकि सारे functions को वो integrate कर रहा है. Okay, so now we take up the next one, that is the peripheral nervous system. So peripheral nervous system, I said it includes the nerves. The nerves arise from the brain as well as the spinal cord. So the nerves which arise from the brain, we call it as cranial nerves, and which arise from the spinal cord, they are known as spinal nerves. You all have noted, everyone? Noting all of you all? PNS consists of cranial nerves and spinal nerves. Then they are of two types. Remember, these nerves, both the types of the nerves, that is the nerves arising from the brain and the nerves arising from the spinal cord, both are of two types. We call them efferent nerves or efferent fibers, and the other one efferent. Now, what is the difference between the two? The efferent fibers or the efferent nerves, what they do, they take the signal from the sense organs to the central nervous system. Okay, so for example, a finger, if someone pricks the finger, so finger में जो sense that is receptors are there, they will receive that impulse and then वहां से लेके जाएगा स्पाइनल कॉर्ड तक एक नर्व फाइबर. उस नर्व फाइबर को हम क्या बोलेंगे? एफरेंट. Now what will happen after nerve? Spinal cord will give the message. Okay, कि आप अपना finger को हटा लो because it is being pricked. So that information will come through other set of the nerves, that is the fibers, which you call it as efferent fibers. Did you understand, everyone? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Speak up. Always speak up quickly so that I can understand. So, efferent receive the signal from sensor and transmit it to the central nervous system. Okay, and the efferent fiber, they carry the signal from the CNS to the effector. So, effectors are the muscles. What are effectors? The muscles. So I hope these terms are not new to you. You have done this in the reflex arc. Are you remembering in 10th you did the reflex arc?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Now, function of the PNS is to maintain all physiological activities. Write it down. It maintains all physiological activities. And already you have written that it is divided into somatic and autonomic. Shall I take up the next slide? All have understood what are the two types of the nerve fibers? Devanshi? Be quick in answering. What are the two types of fibers? Nerve fibers?
Afferent fiber and efferent fiber.
What is efferent fiber?
They receive the signal from the efferent organ and then transmit it to CNS.
हाँ, तो वो क्या इम्पल्स को लेके जा रहे हैं CNS तक. ठीक है. What the efferent will do? What the efferent will do? Quickly, Devanshi. Not understood, Devanshi.
They will carry the signal from the CNS to the
effector.
They will carry the signal from the CNS effector.
So the action will be taken by the effector when the signal will come through the efferent fibers. Is it clear? Okay. Now shall I take up the next slide, everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now we try to understand what is the somatic nervous system. So somatic nervous system consists of sensory nerves. So remember, efferent, we call it as sensory nerves. And the efferent, the other name you write it, motor nerves. What are the efferent nerves called? Motor nerves. Okay, so take up there in your notebook both the names. So consist of sensory neurons, which you call as efferent neurons, and they transmit the information from skin, voluntary muscles, eyes, tongue, nose, ears, tendons, and so on. Are you remembering what are tendons, children? Anyone? Tendons?
They connect
You have
muscle
done
to bone.
tendons and ligaments. Correct. They join muscle to the bone. Very good. It is a connective tissue. Tendon is a connective tissue joining muscle
Yes,
to the
ma'am.
bone. Very good.
They are
Okay.
the connective
So
tissues.
the somatic nervous system consists of sensory nerve. Done all of y'all. Now it also consists of the motor neuron, that is efferent neurons, which carry information from the CNS to only the voluntary muscles. Only to the voluntary, that is the skeletal muscle. So skeletal muscles work under our control. They are working according to our wish. So the system consists of 12 pairs of cranial nerves and 31 pairs of spinal nerves. You can note down just the number, that is 12 pairs of cranial nerves. What is the meaning of cranial nerves, Barbie? What do you mean by 12 pairs of cranial nerves meaning? Yes, Barbie.
Nerves that are located in the brain.
Arising from the brain. What you will say? They are
Arising from
arising
the brain.
from the brain. Okay. Or the spinal nerves. What are these?
Nerves that are arising from the spinal cord.
Spinal cord. Okay. So now try to see here. ये जो nerve fiber इधर spinal cord से आ रहा figure. Can you all see? It is coming from here. So this you will call it as the spinal nerve. ओके ऐसे ही ब्रेन से भी बहुत सारे निकलते हैं और उनको हम बोलेंगे cranial nerve. So the somatic nervous system consisting of 12 pairs of the cranial nerves and 31 pairs of the spinal nerves. Okay, now could you understand this figure? Somatic motor neuron. So it is myelinated, can you see? And this is giving the information to the muscles, that is your striated muscle. Okay, it is the striated muscle that is the effector, and that is skeletal muscle, excitatory transmitter. Contraction of the skeletal muscle will take place and then only the action will be taken. Now autonomic or the visceral nervous system. So this is involuntary. This one will be involuntary. So the autonomic nervous system, it is consisting of sensory neurons which carry information from the receptors in visceral organs. So this should be known to you. हम उसका नाम visceral nervous system बोल रहे हैं. So it consists of the set of nerves which are the sensory. They'll pick up the information from the receptors. और वो receptors कहाँ present होंगे? In all your visceral organs. And what are the visceral organs? The heart, the blood vessels, and the lungs, and your different parts of the alimentary canal also. Okay, liver, they all will be, receptors are present in all the visceral organs, and that information will be taken by the sensory neurons, and this will be constituting the autonomic nervous system. Now, sensory inputs of the ANS can be felt in the form of discomfort or pain in the stomach, and so on. ANS also consists of motor neurons. So, if one set of the nerves are taking the information from the receptors, तो दूसरे set of nerves CNS से सिग्नल लेके भी आएंगे कि क्या काम होना चाहिए अब. So for the action, the other set of nerves which bring the information from the CNS, we will call it as the motor neurons. Is it clear? And they will be again supplied to the muscles. So cardiac muscles, smooth muscles, and the glands of the skin and viscera. So you know that all our internal organs are made up of the smooth muscles. Okay, except your heart. Heart is having a special muscle. And what is that muscle? What is that muscle?
Cardiac muscle fiber.
Cardiac muscle.
Cardiac.
Now try to see this figure. The spinal cord, from here, the nerves are arising. Then it is coming to this part, that is autonomic motor neurons, they are telling. And then unmyelinated. So this one is myelinated, another one is unmyelinated. And then they are supplying it to the effector. They are supplying. So children, here the arrows are not given. Always whenever you draw such diagrams, if you are showing the sensory neuron, तो आपका एरो किस तरफ फेस करना चाहिए? टुवर्ड्स द स्पाइनल कॉर्ड. ओके. एंड इफ यू आर शोइंग द मोटर न्यूरॉन, तो इनके नर्व्स के बीच में आपको एरो कहाँ किस तरफ बनाना है? दैट इज फेसिंग, पॉइंटिंग टू द इफेक्टर. That way we make the motor and the sensory nerves. Seeing the figure you can understand. Okay. So this one you are finding, यहाँ लिखा है motor neuron. So when you will draw the diagram, the arrow should point towards these effectors. They should point towards the effectors. Is it clear? So smooth muscle they are showing. Then they are showing this, which muscle it is? Can you see? I told you these bands are there. So what is that? Ninth, you did all the 3 types of muscles. Which have got alternate light and dark band? Barbie, which muscles have alternate light and dark bands? Devratna remembering?
Cardiac.
Rough.
Yeah, which one?
Cardiac.
Cardiac? No.
Ma'am, rough
What?
muscle fiber.
Huh? Again?
Ma'am, rough muscle fiber.
रफ करके कुछ है ही नहीं. यहाँ एक स्मूथ है तो दूसरा रफ. रफ नाम से कोई मसल फाइबर नहीं है. Okay, one is striated, another one is unstriated. So this one is striated or the striped muscle fiber. Okay, which is showing these lines. So always remember that this is your striped and this is your smooth muscle fiber, which you call it as unstriated. This is one muscle cell. It is the smooth one. You are making the diagram also like this only. Okay, and this one they are showing the glands of the skin. Sorry. Now, so ANS is divided into sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. Understood this much? The visceral nervous system. What is the visceral nervous system? Neha, can you repeat? What is visceral nervous system?
Ma'am, visceral nervous system is the involuntary one which we control on our own.
Yes.
In this sensory neurons carry the information from the receptors to the visceral organs like our heart and lungs.
One thing. Wait. They'll carry the information from the receptors
Receptors
which are
present there
which are-
actually
present in the visceral organs.
to the
क्योंकि
CNS.
heart को भी to the CNS. Correct. Okay. From the receptors present in the visceral organs. Okay, to the CNS. ठीक है. फिर then what else? Then it will have another set also. Remember always both the systems, whether it is the autonomic nervous system or the other one, which one?
Somatic.
What is the other? Somatic. Both the nervous systems will have the 2 sets of nerves. This should be clear to everyone. Both will have 2 sets of nerves. Motor nerves भी होंगे, sensory nerves भी होंगे. Sensory nerves will take the information to the CNS. Okay, organs से receptors से CNS तक लेके जाएगा और CNS से फिर क्या काम होना है वो भी तो सिग्नल मिलना चाहिए, वो इंस्ट्रक्शंस भी तो पहुंचने चाहिए to the muscles. So that instruction will be brought from the CNS by the motor neurons. Is it very clear? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now we'll try to understand what is the sympathetic and parasympathetic. Okay, so sympathetic, now try to see this figure. Sympathetic and parasympathetic, it consists of pathways which leave the CNS. So try to note down, sympathetic nervous system consists of pathways which leave the CNS from the middle portion of the spinal cord. Leave the CNS from the middle portion of the spinal cord. And it is involved in preparing the body to deal with emergencies in the internal environment. In the internal environment. So could you see these nerves in the figure? देखो मिडिल ऑफ द स्पाइनल कॉर्ड बोला है, क्या बोला है? दीज नर्व्स ऑल अराइज फ्रॉम द मिडिल ऑफ द spinal cord. So the spinal cord is extending from here. Could you see everyone my cursor? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
You can see this is our brain, cerebrum, the major part. Then this is your cerebellum, and then here is the medulla. फिर medulla का extension ये पूरा spinal cord है. तो spinal cord के middle part से arise हो रहे हैं some nerves, and these nerves will make up the sympathetic nervous system. They will be making up which system? The sympathetic. And what do? They are involved in the what? Dealing with the emergencies in the internal environment. That is fight, fright, or flight responses. Would you see? Now try to see here where these nerves are going. The nerves are going to the eyes. Then nerves are going to the salivary gland. Then one nerve is going to the heart. Another one going to the lungs. Then can you see here going to the stomach? Then liver. And this one is your adrenal gland, and this is your urinary bladder. So the nerves which are arising from this part of the spinal cord, that is we are calling as middle portion of the spinal cord. They are supplied to all the visceral organs, that is sensory organ, that is eye also, then salivary gland, heart, lungs, stomach, liver, adrenal gland, and your urinary bladder. Did you get it? Now same we will find the parasympathetic nerves. So parasympathetic nervous system, it consists of pathways which leave the CNS at the brain. Did you get it? So these nerves arise from the brain. That is the nerves which arise from the brain and they are supplied to the different organs. They form parasympathetic nervous system. And the nerves which arise from the middle part of the spinal cord, they form the sympathetic nervous system. Is the difference very clear? Sympathetic and parasympathetic? Could you see? And the lower portion of the spinal cord. Lower portion of the spinal cord. Now the activity, this system coordinates the body's normal resting activities. Normal resting activities. And this is known as rest and repair system. Are you all noting everyone? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Keep noting the things quickly and try to understand also. So rest and repair system and helps in conserving and restoring the body resources. Now try to see here this the parasympathetic. So the nerves arising from the brain, it is also going to the eye, then it is going to your salivary gland also, the heart also, but the function will be different. The function will be different. So this nerve is arising from the spinal cord. Can you see here? Lower spinal cord. तो ब्रेन से भी अराइज हो रहे हैं और यहाँ पर स्पाइनल कॉर्ड से भी अराइज हो रहे हैं, विच इज गोइंग, यहाँ से आने वाला नर्व्स. सो रिमेंबर द नर्व्स विल बी ब्रांच्ड. Nerves will be how many?
Branched.
Branch. तभी वो देखो अलग अलग ऑर्गन्स में फिर चले जा रहे हैं. So they are going to the same organs. So same organs are supplied with two sets of nerves. The sympathetic nerves also and the parasympathetic nerves also. Would you make out this thing, everyone? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
हाँ. Now try to see the function. अगर sympathetic pupil को dilate करता है तो the parasympathetic will constrict the pupil. Here sympathetic is inhibiting the secretion of the saliva, but the parasympathetic nerve will stimulate the secretion of saliva by the salivary gland. Would you get it, everyone? तो एक अगर स्टॉप कर रहा है तो एक उसको स्टिमुलेट करता है. यहाँ पर द हार्ट बीट विल बी स्लोड डाउन बाय द पैरासिम्पथेटिक, बट द sympathetic nerves will accelerate the heartbeat. Then the lungs will be constricted by the bronchi will be constricted by the parasympathetic, and the dilation of the bronchi will be done by the sympathetic. Are you all getting the functions? Are you all understanding this figure? You'll be able to read it. This figure, you'll get it in some other books also. Okay, so sympathetic and parasympathetic. So just remember that the functions are different. Shall I move to the next one? The same way here, the parasympathetic will do what? It will contract the urinary bladder. Okay, and here it is inhibiting the bladder contraction. Shall I take up to the next slide, children?
Yes, ma'am.
So parasympathetic nervous system, it starts from the thoracic region and extends up to the lumbar region, but it starts in the cranial area and sacral area of the brain. Adrenaline is the neurotransmitter, adrenaline, and here acetylcholine is the neurotransmitter. So this system is energetic during stress, and this system is energetic during relaxation. And last point you can write down, last two, overall effect on the organ is stimulatory. Sympathetic overall effect is stimulatory, and overall effect on the organs is inhibitory. Is this point clear to everyone? पैरासिम्पथेटिक नर्वस सिस्टम क्या करेगा? फंक्शन को इनहिबिट करेगा, मीन्स स्टॉप करेगा. ओके, बट द सिंपैथेटिक नर्वस सिस्टम इट विल stimulate the functioning of the organs, and this will help, the sympathetic will help in dealing with the emergencies in the internal environment, and it will deal with the resting activities. It will coordinate the resting activities. Did you note down, everyone?
Ma'am. Ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, where is lumbar region located?
Now this, the terms which are there, they are related to your vertebral column. Children, the vertebral column is divided into 5 different regions. Okay, so this we will be doing in the last chapter. Thoracic, now try to understand. Thoracic, little I am telling you. Thorax का region कौन सा होता है जहाँ पर अपने lungs present है and the heart present है. Above the diaphragm, the part of your trunk, we call it as thorax. So the word coming thoracic region. Okay, and the lumbar region is that which is, that is your abdomen part. Would you get it? So spinal cord ka, that is your vertebral column, which is present in your abdomen part. जो पीछे का backbone को आप try to understand कि चेस्ट रीजन से नीचे जो वर्टिब्रल कॉलम आ रहा है, दैट वी कॉल इट एज लंबर. ओके, एंड व्हेन यू सी द वेस्ट पार्ट, ओके, जहां आपका वेस्ट आ जाता है वहां पर आपका सैक्रम आ जाता है, द सैक्रल पार्ट. Okay, so that is cranial area and sacral region. And lumbar region is which one? That part of the vertebral column which is supporting your abdomen. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And thorax is which one? The chest region. Okay. Ribs wala part, apne jo ribs hai, ribs are attached to the vertebral column at the back. Okay. तो उतना पार्ट vertebral column का क्या कहलाएगा? Thoracic region. Okay, and one more point, this point also you add up. That is, adrenaline is the neurotransmitter and acetylcholine is the neurotransmitter. I'll discuss about it later then. Adrenaline and acetylcholine is the neurotransmitter. You are remembering the word synapse? Yes or no, synapse?
Yes, ma'am.
What was synapse?
The gap between two neurons.
Correct. The gap between the two neurons where the nerve impulse conduction takes place from one nerve cell to the other. Okay. तो उधर पर याद है न्यूरोट्रांसमीटर प्रोड्यूस होता है, क्योंकि न्यूरोट्रांसमीटर ही प्री सिनेप्टिक मेम्ब्रेन से पोस्ट सिनेप्टिक मेम्ब्रेन क्लेफ्ट के थ्रू जाता है. Okay, and that chemical is, I told you, that was acetylcholine. Okay, so other one, remember, it is adrenaline. So two neurotransmitters are there. So different nerves are there. Some may be having the neurotransmitter acetylcholine and some will have adrenaline. So already it is 52 children. Now I want everyone to prepare the reflex arc. You read the reflex arc part given in the textbook and you will explain me in the next period. Is that clear to everyone? So reflex arc is the same. What you have done in 10th class, you will read in your this book and you will explain it. So I will tell anyone to explain the reflex arc with the help of the diagram which is given. So I have showed this diagram. The same diagram is given in your textbook also. You will be explaining the reflex arc. Okay, so we have taken today what all? What is the nervous system? What are the components of the nervous system? What is central nervous system? Then peripheral nervous system. Peripheral nervous system divided into quickly.
Somatic and autonomic.
Somatic and
Autonomic.
Correct. And autonomic further divided into
Sympathetic and parasympathetic.
So I hope you got an idea. And in your book, very brief, these all topics are given. So you will read all these topics what we have covered today, and I'll take up the next topic next period. So I'm stopping the sharing. Okay, so everyone has understood what we did today? Devanshi?
Yes, ma'am.
And you have noted also everything?
Yes, ma'am, I have noted.
Okay, Barbie? Barbie, clear everything?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Ritu?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now your work is what? You will be completing the 2 experiments in the file, and everyone will switch on the camera and will show me the file work. Okay, I'll see the file work. And then the other work is what? That you'll read the pages, the topics which we have covered of your textbook. And side by side, what should continue? Your endocrine system preparation should go on. Okay.